some African-American communities are prospering, like the residents of Greenwood, a suburb of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Here, former slaves were given land after the Civil War, and this rare footage shows the thriving town they built. A remarkable Baptist pastor named Solomon Sir Jones is the pioneering filmmaker. His footage was lost for more than 50 years. Jones captures the bustling life of Greenwood, which could be any American small town. But Tulsa's whites don't like what they see. In May 1921, after a black man is accused of assaulting a white woman, a white mob rampages through the city.
Yep, Orchard Oriole. Orchard Oriole. That's what's been singing. That's what threw me off. It's not an indigo bunting. It's not a northern water thrush. I'm embarrassed I even suggested those things. That's an Orchard Oriole. That's what's been singing.
There is an African-American man. I am in Central Park. He is recording me and threatening myself and my dog. I'm being threatened by a man in the ramble. Please send the cops immediately.
And I'm like, oh, we're going there. And, you know, I sort of had a decision to make, which is, you know, do I capitulate to this attempt at racial intimidation, or do I just keep doing what I'm doing? Unfortunately for her, I mean, she pulled the pin on the hand grenade of race and tried to lob it at me, and instead it blew up in her face.
Yo, what's good, man? It's your boy Nasty, man. We're gonna show you something, man. We're gonna show you, you know, this racist, crazy white European woman, man. This don't make no sense. This woman got binoculars on us watching us. I'm gonna show you something real quick. This don't make no sense. Check this out. We're gonna get her on film. Look at this. See, she got binoculars. Did y'all see that? That woman just said rape. That woman said rape, and I'm way over here. Look it. She said attacking rape. That's this woman right here. Right here. Down here. This woman is watching us with binoculars. We're sitting over here minding our business.
You were coming to rape me. I saw it in your face.
You hear that? I was coming to what?
You were approaching me.
I was approaching you? I was approaching you with what, the camera?
I was not approaching you. Yeah.
So I was approaching you to rape you?
Yeah.
Really?
You were walking right towards me.
Really? So I was coming to rape you?
Yeah.
Why would you sit up here and sit up here and tell that bold-faced lie? Why would you do that?
No, it's not a bold face.
Did it make you feel good to say, because I'm black, that I was coming to rape you?
You were approaching me.
I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to ask you a question. When I was approaching you,
I was not approaching you.
I'm going to ask you a question.
I'm not approaching you.
When I was approaching you, did I approach you with my phone out?
Yeah.
So if I'm approaching you with my phone out, what would make you think that I'm coming to rape you?
I don't know.
Because she was watching us with binoculars while we're over there grilling. Why is she sitting out here on the porch with binoculars out in her hands, watching us and the family while we're grilling?
Now what are you afraid that I'm going to see with my binoculars?
You're not going to see anything with your binoculars.
Well, then why are you approaching me?
I'm coming up to you to ask
Why
you,
are you approaching
because I'm asking you, why do you have your binoculars out watching us barbecue? Why are you watching us?
You've been out there all afternoon.
So why are you watching us?
because I'm paying attention for my own safety.
Do you know that back in the 1900s that Europeans, women used to lie on black men to say that they were raping them when they haven't and when they never touched them or did anything? Do you know that?
You stay away from me.
And what you just done?
I'm going to report, and if you get near me.
I got video though, so you report, you're gonna be caught a lie because I got you on camera.
Fine.
So go ahead and report it. That's my mother up there, okay? And ever since I come here to see my mother, when I come here, ever since I came here, ever since I come through the front door, you know what you do? You harass me. You harass me, you harass my children, you harass everyone when we come to visit my mother.
You have that on tape?
Absolutely.
Well, you're so good with the tape.
Absolutely.
You have that on tape?
Yeah, you see you on tape? Thank God for cell phone cameras, because you people can't lie anymore.
The brutal murder of 14-year-old Emmett Till remains one of the darkest moments in the civil rights era. On August 20th, 1955, the Chicago teen went to visit relatives in Money, Mississippi. While there, Till and a group of friends went into a store to buy candy. Unaware of the racial tone in the Mississippi Delta, Till spoke to a white female storekeeper in a manner she deemed offensive. On August 28, 1955, the storekeeper's husband, Roy Bryant, and his half-brother, J.W. Milam, abducted Till at gunpoint from his great-uncle's home. They drove him to a shed, where they took turns torturing and beating him with a pistol. The pair then drove the battered teen to the edge of the Tallahatchie River. There they ordered him to remove his clothes and shot him in the head. Then they attached a heavy fan to his neck and rolled his body into the river. On August 31st, 1955, the body of Emmett Till was discovered by two young boys. Heartbroken and grief-stricken by the brutality of her son's death, Mamie Till Bradley defiantly held an open casket funeral in Chicago for her son. She even sent pictures of his disfigured body to newspapers and magazines, saying the whole nation had to bear witness to this. Blacks, including young kids like myself, saw this horrendous picture in Jet magazine and other black publications. In September 1955, Bryant and Milam were indicted for Emmett Till's murder. During the three-day trial, prosecutors presented testimony from Till's great-uncle and Willie Reed, an African-American sharecropper who overheard Bryant and Milam torturing Till. On September 23, 1955, after deliberating for just over 1 hour, the all-white male jury found the defendants not guilty. 7 years after their acquittal, one juror admitted during an interview that most of the jurors believed Bryant and Milam were guilty, but acquitted them because the mandatory punishment of life in prison or death seemed too harsh to impose on white men for killing a black boy.
In May 1921, after a black man is accused of assaulting a white woman, a white mob rampages through the city. For a night and a day, they loot and burn Greenwood. A Fox News crew captures the only surviving footage. It is the bloodiest racial massacre in American history, leaving nearly 300 dead.
On May 30th, 1921, a 19-year-old black man boarded an elevator in a downtown building. The elevator operator was a 17-year-old white girl. A store clerk heard her scream, ran to the elevator to find the girl, then called police because he thought she had been attacked. The girl told police she had just been startled by the man and did not want to press charges. However, rumors spread, and the story quickly morphed into a rape allegation. Police then arrested the black man and jailed him at the courthouse. The next night, a mob of white men sought to lynch him. But the sheriff and deputies defended the jail, along with 30 armed black men from Greenwood who also stood guard. In the hours that followed, white rioters attacked the town, burning 40 city blocks, killing almost 300 black residents and displacing thousands of others. The prosperous black community was destroyed, but none of the rioters was convicted, and survivors didn't receive a penny of compensation for lost property.
The Curtis Southwest Airplane Company was based at a nearby airport and had offered to support the KKK with about a dozen war surplus aircraft. These were Curtis JN-4 Jennies, wooden fabric biplanes with 2 seats that the company had purchased from the U.S. Army Signal Corps after the end of World War I. What followed was the world's first firebombing of a city in history through the use of aircraft. It was not in a war with a foreign power, but rather pitted Americans against Americans in a battle along racial lines. Each of the pilots took an armed observer on board in the back seat. Some carried rifles, others sticks of TNT. Others yet carried buckets of fabric balls that they had soaked in turpentine to light on fire and drop onto the roofs of the Greenwood district. The planes descended from above into the heart of Greenwood, focusing their attack on Standpipe Hill, a few blocks from Mount Zion Baptist Church. One of the residents, a journalist named Mary Jones Parrish, later recounted, "There was a great shadow in the sky, and upon a second look we discerned that this cloud was caused by fast approaching aeroplanes. It then dawned upon us that the enemy had organized in the night and was invading our district the same as the Germans invaded France and Belgium. People were seen to flee from their burning homes, some with babes in their arms. Yet seemingly I did not leave. I walked as one in a horrible dream." Ultimately, she fled the burning city and passed by the airfield. There she saw preparations for another attack that afternoon, which she described as planes out of their sheds, all in readiness for flying, and these men with high-powered rifles getting into them. The air attack wasn't limited to bombing alone. One report tells of how a pilot steered his plane toward 2 men with their wives as they were running across an open field. Swooping low, they dropped a hail of lead balls or stones, hoping to kill them. They missed and the force survived, later testifying about it in court. The pilots made low passes so the observers could shoot at those on the ground. As one leaned out to take a shot, an African American fired back. The man fell from the biplane to his death. As the Greenwood district burned, the Tulsa Fire Department responded, but was held back by the white mob. When the National Guard finally arrived, the KKK opened fire on them too. Many residents fled, but fell into the hands of the mob, who murdered them. One of the town's most prosperous African American men, a lawyer named Buck Colbert Franklin, witnessed the events and later wrote, "I could see planes circling in midair. They grew in number and hummed, darted and dipped low. I could hear something like hail falling on the top of my office building. Down East Archer, I saw the old Midway Hotel on fire, burning from its top. And then another, and another, and another building began to burn from their top." He also related that lurid flames roared and belched and licked their forked tongues into the air. Smoke ascended the sky in thick black volumes, and amid it all, the planes, now a dozen or more in number, still hummed and darted here and there, with the agility of natural birds of the air. He abandoned his office and later remarked that the sidewalks were literally covered with burning turpentine balls. "I knew all too well where they came from, and I knew all too well why every burning building first caught from the top." Though others have discounted the use of aircraft in the attack, the KKK itself wrote of its achievement later in their newspaper, The Nation. They said that with the use of air power, they could burn out African American neighborhoods all across America. Later in the day, another eyewitness, Mr. W.I. Brown, reported, We reached Tulsa about 2 o'clock. Airplanes were circling all over Greenwood. We stopped our cars north of the Katy Depot, going towards Sand Springs. The heavens were lightening up as plain as day from the many fires over the Negro section. I could see from my car window that 2 airplanes were doing most of the work. They would every few seconds drop something, and every time they did, there was a loud explosion and the sky would be filled with flying debris. Of the 10,000 African American citizens of Greenwood, approximately 300 were killed. They were buried in mass graves. The Salvation Army reported not on the number of bodies, but that they had to feed and provide water for 37 grave diggers. Many more were injured, and the Red Cross provided tents and some basic supplies to those who had survived. The destruction was staggering. Greenwood was completely burned out. Damages totaled an estimated $23 million, which equates to about $310 million in today's money. In all, 35 city blocks were destroyed and 1,256 residences were burned to ash. 21 churches and 20 grocery stores were burned, as well as 2 banks, a hospital, the federal post office, and more than 600 businesses. Even the Mount Zion Baptist Church had burned to the ground. Only the steeple remained, towering like a symbol of hope over the burned-out ruins. Incredibly, no insurance claims were ever paid to any African American who applied. Likewise, no civil claims were ever awarded in court. Not a single person in the white mob was ever charged or jailed for either the murders or the property destruction, and nobody ever helped rebuild the neighborhoods afterwards. Hundreds of African Americans fled the city, never to return. Tulsa's African American community, which had achieved the American dream and had built one of the most prosperous communities in the entire United States, white or black, in a single day was utterly destroyed and rendered destitute. Incredibly, the story of what happened, how it happened, and what took place afterwards was covered up for 70 years. It wasn't taught in schools, it wasn't acknowledged by the state of Oklahoma, and only in 1996 did the city of Tulsa formally acknowledge what had happened. This story has always held special meaning for me, because I'm one of the first historians who worked to bring it back to light. My part has been documenting the role of air power, and I contributed original research into the types of planes, the number that flew, who owned them, and even the names of some of the pilots. None were ever arrested, fined, or even sanctioned in any way. Their planes were not impounded. The civil aviation authorities, the governor of Oklahoma, and the mayor simply looked the other way. Perhaps the greatest irony is that the Tulsa police actually hired the Curtiss Southwest Airplane Company to fly an aerial survey and document the damage done in the Greenwood district. The pilots not only got away with murder, but then got paid to document their own evil work. Today, the airport that was once called Curtiss Southwest Field is closed and long gone. Nothing remains of its 2 hangars or the company. Not even a plaque marks the spot. In Greenwood, the only surviving foundation of what was once the Black Wall Street is under the Vernon AME Church.
My name is My name is Viola Ford Fletcher. I'm the daughter of Lucinda Ellis and John Wesley Ford of Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm the sister of Hughes Van Ellis, who's also here today. I'm a survivor of the Tulsa Race Massacre. 2 weeks ago, I celebrated my 107th birthday. Today, I'm visiting Washington, D.C. for the first time in my life. I'm here seeking justice, and I'm asking my country to acknowledge what happened in Tulsa in 1921. On May 31st in 21, I went to bed at my family's home in Greenwood. Neighbors of Tulsa, the neighborhood I felt asleep in that night, was rich, not just in terms of wealth, but in culture, community, heritage, and my family had a beautiful home. We had great neighbors, and I had friends to play with. I felt safe. I had everything a child could need. I had a bright future ahead of me. Greenwood could, Still, Greenwood should have given me the chance to truly make it in this country. Within a few hours, all of that was gone. The night of the massacre, I was awakened by my family. My parents and 5 siblings were there. I was told we had to leave, and that was it. I will never forget the violence of the white mob when we left our home. I still see black men being shot, black bodies lying in the street. I still smell smoke and see fire. I still see black businesses being burned. I still hear airplanes flying overhead. I hear the screams. I have lived through the massacre every day. Our country may forget this history, but I cannot. I will not, and other survivors do not, and our descendants do not. When my family was forced to leave Tulsa, I lost my chance of an education. I never finished school past the 4th grade. I have never made much money in my country. State and city took a lot from me. Despite this, I spent time supporting the war effort in the shipyards of California, but most of my life I was a domestic worker serving white families. I never made much money, but to this day I can barely afford my everyday needs. All the while the city of this Tulsa have unjustly used the names and stories of victims like me to enrich myself and its white allies through the 30s million raised by the Tulsa Centennial Commissioner while I was continued to live in poverty. I am a 107-year-old and have never seen justice. I pray that one day I will. I have been blessed with a long life and have seen the best and the worst of this country. I think about the terror, horror inflicted upon black people in this country every day. This subcontinued committee has the power to lead us down a better path. I'm asking that my country acknowledge what has happened to me, the traumas and the pain, the loss, and I ask survivors and descendants to be given the chance to seek justice, open the door. All of you know how easy it is to deny that a violent mob threatened your lives and took your property. For 70 years, the city of Tulsa and its Chamber of Commerce told us that the massacre didn't happen, like we didn't see it with our own eyes. You have me here right now. You see Mother Randall, you see my brother, Hughes Van Ellis. We live this history, and we can't ignore it. It's our lives with us. Oh, my goodness. We lost everything that day, our homes, our churches, our newspapers, our theaters, our lives. Greenwood represented all the best of what was possible for black people in America and for all the people. No one cared about us for almost 100 years. We and our history have been forgotten, washed away. This Congress must recognize us and our history. For black America, for the white Americans, and for all Americans, that's some justice. Yes, was that it? Thank you.
Do you want to say anything else?
I thought it was another page.
Do you want to say anything else?
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you want to say?
No, it's not.
Thank you very much. We appreciate very much your testimony. Mother Fletcher, if we don't learn from history, we're doomed to repeat it. So thank you for putting us on the right course to learn and to understand and to do better.
Thank you.
Are you the older of the two siblings?
The older?
Are you older than your brother here?
Yes.
You are?
Yes.
So he's used to having a tough act to follow. Our next witness is Mr. Hughes Van Ellis, known as Uncle Red.
Yep.
He's a World War II veteran, having served in the United States Army in the China, Burma, India Theater of Operations as a member of an all-black unit. He's also a survivor of the Tulsa Race Massacre. Uncle Red, you're on.
Chairman Gordon, Ranking Member Johnson, and member of the subcommittee. My name is Hughes Van Ellis. I am 100 years old, and I am a survivor of the Tulsa Race Massacre. Because of the massacre, my family was driven out of our home. We were left with nothing. We were made refugees in our own county. My childhood was hard, and we didn't have much. We worried what little we worried what little we had would be stolen from us, just like it was stolen in Tulsa. You may have been taught that when something is stolen from you, you can go to the courts to be made whole. You can go to the courts to get justice. This wasn't the case for us. The courts in Oklahoma wouldn't hear us. The federal courts said we were too late. We were made to feel that our struggle was unworthy of justice, that we were less valued than whites, that we weren't fully Americans. We were shown that in the United States, not all men were equal under law. We were shown that when black voices called out for justice, no one cared. But we still had faith things would get better. We still believe in the promise of America in the cases of freedom. I did my duty in World War II. I served in combat in the Far East with the 234th AAA Gun Battalion. We were all black battalion. I fought for freedom aboard, even though it was ripped away from me at home. Even after my home and my community were destroyed. It's because I believe in the end, America would get its right. When I returned home from the war, I didn't find any of this freedom. I was fighting for overseas. Unlike white servicemen, I wasn't entitled to GI Bill benefits because of the color of my skin. I came home to segregation, a separate and unequal America. but still I believed in America. This is why we are still speaking up today. Even at this age of 100, the Tulsa Race Massacre is a footnote in the history books for us. We live with it every day, and the thought of what Greenwood was and what it could have been. We aren't just black and white pictures on a screen. We are flesh and blood. I was there when it happened. I'm still here.
That's right. That's right.
My sister was there with she's still here. We are not asking for his hand out. All we are asking for is for a chance to be treated like a first-class citizen. Who truly in the pictures of the promise that this is a land where there is liberty and justice for all. We are asking for justice for a lifetime of ongoing harm that was caused by the massacre. We can give us the chance to be hard and give us a chance to be made whole. After all of these years and after all of our struggle, I still believe in America. I still believe in the ideas that I fought overseas to defend. And believe if given this chance, I will do the right thing and justice will be served. Please do not let me leave this earth without justice like all the others, massacre survivors. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Do you want to say anything else? You want to say anything else?
I want to say I appreciate being here, and I hope we all will work together. We are one. We are one.
Thank you, Mr. Van Ellis, a.k.a. Uncle Red. The last witness on our panel is coming to us through Zoom, our reasonable facsimile of such, Miss Leslie Benningfield Randall. Mother Randall was 6 years old when she lived through the Tulsa Race Massacre. Mother Randall will be joining us virtually. Mother Randall, you are recognized now.
Good morning, Chairman Cohen.
Good morning.
Ranking Member Johnson and members of the subcommittee. I am blessed and honored to be here speaking with you today. It means a lot to me to finally be able to look at you all in the eye and ask you to do the right thing. I have waited so long for justice. My name is Leslie Evelyn Benningfield Randall. People call me Mother Randall. Today I'm 106 years old. 100 years ago, in 1921, I was a 6-year-old child. I was blessed to live with my grandmother in a beautiful black community in Tulsa, Oklahoma, called Greenwood. I was lucky. I had a home and I had toys. I didn't have any fear. I was a young child and I felt very safe. Thank you. My community was beautiful and was filled with happy and successful black people. Then everything changed. It was like a war. White men with guns came and destroyed my community. We couldn't understand why. What did we do to them? We didn't understand. We were just living, but they came and they destroyed everything. Let's see. They burned houses and businesses. They just took what they wanted and out of the building. Then they burned the building, burned them. They murdered people. We were told they just dumped the dead bodies into the river. I remember running outside of our house. I just passed dead bodies. It wasn't a pretty sight. I still see it today in my mind, 100 years later. I was so scared. I didn't think we could make it out alive. I remember people were running everywhere. We waited for the soldiers to come. And when they finally came, they took us to the fairground where we would be safe. It felt like so long before they came. Thank you. Let's see. I survived the 1921 Tulsa race massacre, and I have survived 100 years of painful memories and losses. By the grace of God, I am still here. I have survived. I have survived to tell this story. I believe that I am still here to share it with you. Hopefully, now you all will listen to us while we are still here. Some more? The white people who did this to us were filled with so much hate. It is disgusting that they hate us that they hate us for no reason except that we are black people. We know most of the people who committed these acts and died are dead now. The three of us here today are the only ones left that we know of. But just because these men are probably dead, the city and county of Tulsa, the state of Oklahoma, and the Tulsa Chamber are still responsible for making it right, because it was they who caused the massacre, and it's continued. The chamber helped ensure that we could not rebuild after the massacre, including holding us in intimate camps. They owe us something. They owe me something. I have lived much of my life poor by opportunities. My opportunities were taken from me. Taken from me and my community. North Tulsa, Black Tulsa is still messed up today. They didn't rebuild it. They sure did. It's empty. It's a ghetto. They have raised more than $30 million and have refused to share any with me or the other two survivors. They have used my name to further their fundraising goals without my permission. Now that's a crime. And misrepresenting my support of their upcoming continual events focused on making Tulsa look good and not justice. You can help us get some justice. America is still full of examples where people in positions of power, many just like you, have told us to wait. Others have told us it's too late. It seems like justice in America is always so slow or not possible for Black people. And we are made to feel crazy. Just for asking for things to be made right. There are always so many excuses for why justice is so slow or never happened at all. I am here today, 106 years old, looking at you all in the eye. We've waited 100 years. No, we have waited too long, and I am tired. We are tired. And lastly, I am asking you today to give us some peace. Please give me, my family, and my community some justice. Thank you.